Judge Martinez sits at the bench, reviewing documents as two groups of people enter the courtroom. On one side stands Rebecca Thompson, a thin woman in her mid-30s with a determined expression despite her pale complexion. On the other side, four women enter together, the Henderson sisters, Patricia, Michelle, Sandra, and Jessica, all looking defiant and angry. Judge Martinez, you claim your mother had a relationship with the defendant's father, and today you're in court to prove that he is your biological father. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. That's correct. Miss Henderson, you and your sisters say Miss Thompson is a delusional troublemaker whose mother destroyed your family. You say Miss Thompson has been dragging your father's name through the mud, and there is absolutely no way she is related to you. Is that correct? That is 100% correct, Your Honor. She needs to stop this fantasy right now. So, Miss Thompson, why do you believe you're related to the Henderson family? Because my mother and Mr. Robert Henderson both told me that he was my father. Also, family members on his side have confirmed it, and I'm listed in his obituary as his daughter. You are? Yes, ma'am, I am. That was a huge mistake. Our aunt put her name in the obituary without telling any of us. Our father never even mentioned this woman. That's a lie, Your Honor. That's completely false. So why would she be put in the obituary if no one ever mentioned her or knew about her? Our father's sister and her mother were best friends. Our aunt is the one who told her she might possibly be related to us. That's the only reason. That is not true, Your Honor. Ah, I had a real relationship with Robert Henderson through the years after I found out he was my father. The only reason I'm even here wanting confirmation is because I've recently been diagnosed with terminal cancer, stage 4. I need family medical history. And honestly, even though I know they don't want anything to do with me, I'd like to have some information about him, some connection before I die. The courtroom falls silent for a moment. Even the Henderson sisters shift uncomfortably. When did you first find out about Robert Henderson being your father? Rebecca takes a deep breath, her voice wavering slightly. When I was about 12 or 13 years old. How did you find out? Thompson lets out a bitter laugh. My stepfather came home drunk one night. He and my mother were fighting, screaming at each other. He shouted at me, "You want to know who your real father is?" After that fight ended, my mother sat me down and told me everything. She took me to meet Robert the next week. We had a relationship from that point forward. What would you like to add, Miss Henderson? Your Honor, first of all, I do feel sorry that she has cancer. I'm not heartless, but there are thousands of adopted children with cancer who have no idea about their family history. The doctors ask for family history, but that's not going to cure her disease. Nobody said it was going to cure me. Patricia holds up her hand. I'm speaking right now. Thompson crosses her arms, but stays silent. But what she's saying is, if she is going to leave this world, there are unanswered questions in her mind and in her life that she would like answers to before she passes. That's why we are here today. The audience applauds briefly. That's exactly right. That's why we're here, Your Honor. This is important to me. Judge Martinez nods with understanding before turning to the Henderson sisters. Fair point. Now, to the Henderson sisters. Growing up, did any of you ever hear about Miss Thompson? Never heard of her. Did anyone ever mention her name? All four sisters shake their heads in unison. Never. Not once. Actually, Your Honor, there was one time. I was 19 years old. My dad was visiting from Arizona. My parents were already divorced by then. He had all of us meet him at this old country bar outside of town. When we showed up, that woman and her mother were sitting there waiting. Thompson sits up straighter. That woman? I'm standing right here. I have a name. I'm talking. Judge Martinez raises her hand. You're referring to her as that woman. Let's use names, please. Fine. When we showed up, she and her mother were sitting in a booth. We all sat down, had some drinks with my dad. After about half an hour, he looked at all of us and said, "I brought you here to let you know that she's your sister." Who? That was the one and only time my dad ever mentioned her until the day he died. He never mentioned it to any of the rest of us. Ever. Judge Martinez leans forward interested. So, hold on. Wait a minute. If he told you directly that she was your sister, why don't you believe it? Michelle shifts uncomfortably. I don't want to speak badly of the dead, but my dad he wasn't faithful. It's obvious he cheated on my mom, but it wasn't just with her mother. There were others. Many others. Exactly. It was never just her mother. I've heard stories about her mother being with multiple men during that time period. So what you're saying is, he told you she was your sister, but you have information suggesting her mother was also with other men frequently. That is absolutely correct, Your Honor. When I was 17, I moved to Arizona to live with my father. I flew out there with her younger sister. I lived there for almost a year. Her name was never mentioned once. Not by my father, not by anyone, never. Judge Martinez makes a note. And just to be clear, your mother and father were married. Correct. Yes, Your Honor, and you all share the same mother and father, all 5 of you Henderson sisters. Yes, all 5 of us. Can I add something? When I was living with my father in Arizona, we packed up and moved apartments suddenly because my father went to the bar where her mother was working and caught her with another man. That gave me the impression that her mother probably has no idea who fathered any of her children. Thompson's face flushes red with anger. Really? You're going to attack my mother like that? It's not my fault you don't want to know me. It's not my fault your dad had sex with my mother and I'm a product of that relationship. And it's not our fault that they both made that choice either. The audience applauds. Judge Martinez waits for silence. Miss Thompson, let me ask you this. Did your mother ever tell you there were any other possibilities? Any other men who could be your father? Let me tell you the full story, Your Honor. My mother married the man I thought was my biological father when she was only 14 years old. She and Robert Henderson were childhood sweethearts before that. I wasn't born until my mother was 20 years old, almost 21. She was married to that same man the entire time. So what you're saying is, your mother married very young, but she and Robert Henderson, their father, remained in some kind of relationship because they were childhood sweethearts. They were in and out of a relationship for years, as long as I can remember. All 4 sisters speak at once. No, they were not. That's not true. Our father was with us every weekend. Every single weekend. She's making this up. Thompson shakes her head vigorously. My maintenance man at my apartment building was my father's childhood friend. We had a long conversation recently. I asked him directly about my mother and Robert Henderson. He confirmed they had an on and off relationship for years. Patricia steps forward. I know she thinks she's our sister, so I asked our father's best friend about this. He said absolutely not. My mother was the only woman my dad was with during that early period. Judge Martinez raises an eyebrow. So you never heard any rumors about your father being unfaithful? Not until we were teenagers. Only when we got older did we hear things. When we became teenagers, yes, but not when we were young children. When you say she's just trying to insert herself into your family, what do you think her motive is? You obviously don't want her there. Why would she push so hard? Our youngest sister, Jessica, is very close friends with her. She wants them to be sisters. We told Jessica, if she is our sister, make her prove it with a DNA test. She kept refusing, kept making excuses. Judge Martinez nods slowly. Well, that's why we're here today. And actually, Jessica, your youngest sister, is here as well. Bailiff, can you please escort Jessica Henderson into the courtroom? The bailiff opens the door, and a younger woman in her late 20s enters. She walks to the witness stand and sits down. Hello, Miss Henderson. Henderson, thank you for joining us today. Miss Thompson claims she shares a father with you and your sisters. Your older sisters say absolutely not. What is your opinion? I believe that she is our sister. I really do. You do believe it. Tell the court why. Because my father told me she was. Directly. To my face. Sandra scoffs loudly from across the courtroom. She just needs a family, Your Honor. Her whole family has shut her out because she causes so much drama and trouble. Jessica turns to face her sisters, speaking firmly. I believe what Dad told me. That's my opinion. Tell me about the moment when your father told you. Jessica settles back in her chair, remembering. We were out one day when I was about 19. He said he wanted me to meet one of his girlfriends. I'd met several before, so it was no big deal. We drove to Rebecca's mother's house. He introduced me to Rebecca and said, "This is your sister." I just accepted it. Our dad never lied to us. Judge Martinez turns back to the older sisters. You know, your sisters actually admit your father said to them, "This is your sister," but they don't believe it because they thought Miss Thompson's mother had been sleeping around. As did he. Exactly. As did he. We don't deny our father had affairs. He's our hero to this day, and I'm not going to trash his memory. But yes, he loved women. That was just who he was. Some men hunt, some men fish. Our dad loved women. The courtroom erupts in awkward laughter. Judge Martinez smiles slightly. Well said, I suppose. Now, your sisters seem to think Miss Thompson is just trying to cause problems. They think you too want to be sisters, and you're both making this up. Is that affecting your relationship with them? I have no idea what affects our relationship. I don't even speak to Patricia and Michelle anymore. They stopped talking to me years ago. We don't speak to her because she keeps pushing this nonsense. Jessica shrugs. I still talk to Sandra on a daily basis, and I talk to our other sisters when they'll speak to me. I'm just tired of hearing about this drama. Let's settle it once and for all. And for all. Your Honor, Robert Henderson invited me to a Henderson family reunion. It was at Riverside Park. All three older sisters erupt simultaneously. That is a complete lie. Total lie. Just because you know where it was doesn't mean you were invited. There was never a family reunion at Riverside Park. It was near Riverside Park, not at the actual park location.